In the past 2 years, I've gotten 8 figures in new sales for B2B SaaS founders. And many times I've been able to achieve these results by filling their calendars with product demos, what eventually brought people so much more confidence in the way they were handling these meetings that they could start closing them at 25-45% rate. And by the end of this video, I will explain you one difference that you need to make in your marketing for you to start booking 5, 10, and sometimes 20 times the number of opportunities that you are getting right now. And it's also the thing which I'm using to be booking people hundreds of meetings regardless of the niche. So you will be learning the stuff that allowed Will to go from averaging 1 demo a week for months to getting more than 20 meetings a week booked and needing to introduce waitlists for his food tech solution in UK. And the stuff I'll be sharing here has brought founders over 2,000 product demos in the past year. So the thing you need to understand is that you need to leverage data across your customer acquisition mechanisms to make every next sale cheaper. And most founders, they are never using the learnings from their past campaigns to be leveraging them in new experiences that they are running. And this is a huge mistake, because if you're never using data for your next marketing experiments, then you're always not saving money on the customer acquisition cost. And by the end of this video, you will see how much money you're losing as a result of that. So the mindset shift you need to make is you need to understand one thing. Nobody can predict the best way to get meetings for your exact solution in a certain channel with your company structure. And many times people would also ask me, Denis, can you get 1,000 meetings in few months for this one, my startup with this structure, with this niche, with this ticket size, and so on? And most likely there is no person on earth who has brought results and who has generated like $1 million in a few months for exactly startup operating in your exact niche with your exact resources, your skill set, etc. However, what I'll be explaining you in this video is the framework which I'm using to be getting people results in niches that I've been completely unaware of before we started working. So the mindset transition you need to make is that it's impossible to predict the best way to get meetings in your situation without running experiments and getting data first. So if you know how to test it, eventually you will always find the one which is going to be making great economical sense for you. Here I've got a chart which shows the cost per call and calls booked over time. And the thing which is missing for most startups is that they're never optimizing their messaging to start booking calls cheaper. And that's how their cost per call, for an example, is going to be varying around $300. But then, for example, you run few campaigns, you see that, oh, maybe this one copy has brought us a bit better reply rate. However, you feel so you didn't really track it, and then, for example, you spend 3-4 months doing this one marketing campaign, then you tweak something, and then okay, sure, over time, after like 6-12 months, you are moving in the better direction, seeing how this one channel is slightly outperforming the other, but it's all based on feelings, and you aren't really improving the pace you could be improving. And then there is a data-driven messaging way in which you optimize your copy after each call, gathering data from various channels. And that's how, even at you starting at the same point, around $300 for a call, you then immediately after 10 bookings can drastically improve the copy so that the next week you're already getting them at $250 per call. And then 3 weeks after, you're getting them at $200 per call. And that's how within a few months you're able to get your call cost down from $300 all the way to $150, $100, and sometimes we get it down to $25 for a qualified B2B call, which is in the high ticket B2B SaaS space, sometimes like usually unheard of. So imagine this. $270 cost per call multiplied by 100 calls. That means that, say, over 6 months time frame, you would have spent $27,000 on just getting the meetings in your pipeline. And then compare it with the one in which every 10 calls, you're able to gather data and make your customer acquisition cost usually 25 to 50% cheaper. Here, you would be averaging 120 cost per call times 100, and that's gonna be $12,000 at the end of the quarter. And that's how you would have saved 15K, and that's like another 15K that you can spend on top in your marketing elsewhere. So the way we usually approach it is we do 3 acquisition channels, because at the start we don't know which one is going to perform best, so we want to combine multiple ones and compare. And I typically run 4 versions of copy for each channel. And then as we run campaigns, we pick 3 winners, and then over time we double down on the one which is best performing. Sometimes this entire process can take just 4 days, and then by the end of the same week we started, we're able to get like 10, 20, 30 meetings booked on the calendar. Usually, however, this process is done over a 2 to 4 month time frame. By the end of month 3, that's usually when we're able to see huge improvement from where the startup is starting at. And by the way, you can join SAS Camp, so I can tell you which variations you need to test for your solution, because I spent years figuring it out myself. And in case you'd rather get it done quickly and not go the trial and error way for a couple years like I did, you go to sascamp.com, book a call, and we get this sorted for you. And after you're running this for a few weeks, you're usually able to start getting results like this one after another. So see, these are just some replies to one cold email campaign that we've been running. And it's not that from day 1 we were able to get these replies. However, week 2, week 3 of us gradually gathering data and seeing how we can pre-handle objections in the copy and make messaging stronger and stronger, one time we would be able to get like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interested replies one after another in a span of like a couple of hours. And for cold email, getting 6 replies, like 5 interested replies in a couple of hours, half, if not all of them resulting in meetings, you see how powerful it is. So let's compare two situations. The startup with weak messaging is going to be getting cost per call $500 to $1,000. And then they run 20 calls, say $800 is the cost per each. And then they spend $16,000 on these 20 calls. And for this one example, let's take that they are selling at $2,000 a month price tag. And then say you go the data-driven messaging way, getting your cost per call cheaper after every single one. You then would be at 25 to 250 cost per call. Then 20 calls at $200 each, that's $4,000 spend. And at $2,000 a month price tag, or usually you're able to sell at a higher price thanks to your stronger positioning and messaging, and people not comparing you with cheaper options. 20% close rate, that's $4,000 MRR added. Plus, this has been acquired for $12,000 less. What happens then is you invest this extra 12 grand to get 40 more calls than the other competitor startup. And then 8 additional sales at $2,000 each is $16,000 additional MRR that you get out of this pipeline opportunities. So what you do next is you invest this extra $12,000 to get 40 more calls than the startup A. Then 8 additional sales at $2,000 each is $16,000 additional MRR that startup A didn't get at all. And then you invest this extra $16,000 to get 40 more calls than startup A. And then it snowballs like crazy. Because basically, as you're making every single sale cheaper and cheaper, it's becoming harder for your competition to even have a chance to keep up with you. And that's how, even if you started at $300 cost per call, as long as you leverage your data and correctly track it to be making your next call cheaper every single time, you're making it impossible for others to catch up with you. So if you want to learn this one concept in more detail, you can watch my other video where I'm explaining where B2B SaaS founders are losing the most amount of money, and this one just would be super useful for you to understand it in a deeper way. Right, so the business that dominates the market can get the best paying customers the cheapest way possible. And oftentimes the wealthiest providers get too lazy and they don't run experiments and don't pay attention to what data shows them. That's why if you simply learn how to track patterns and market feedback in your marketing campaigns, you'd be getting the most calls the cheapest. And that's how you would be able to outperform everyone else in your niche. Imagine that there would be a startup that is like, okay, fine, content and cold email are sort of working for us, they would say, and they would continue sitting at like $1,000 cost per call, or say $800 cost per call. And then you have different scalable acquisition mechanisms, you track all the data, and then you are making your calls cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And that's how, even if you started at the same spot at $800 per call, after 2, 3, 4 months, you are already like 3-4 times cheaper than that. And then after you have basically 3-4 times cheaper cost per acquisition for a period of time of 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 months, imagine what a huge, tremendous difference this makes on the startup's financial trajectory. And if you want to see how I execute this with other startups, you can join my free Telegram channel at t.me/ShatalinDD, and I'll drop this one link in description. And that's where I show the backend of how we're executing all of this. Appreciate you watching this video. Again, if you're not keen to spend years figuring this out, you can just go to sascamp.com and book a call with me so that we can get this sorted for you as soon as possible, and that you can start acquiring customers cheaper and get data-driven messaging work for you, so that your messaging will be so powerful that people would be asking you, like here, to get on a meeting. Let's discuss. Thanks for reaching out. Thank you for your email. And then I would be happy to set up a call. It's not always that your outbound campaigns with completely cold leads have them reply to you that, yes, I'm happy to jump on a call. When is your soonest availability? And these are the exact types of replies we're able to get with startups in their second, third months inside the program. Thanks again for watching this, and have a fantastic day. See you in the next one.